The higher vocabulary is more Persianized in Urdu, and the higher vocabulary in Hindi would be more Sanskritized. But they are sister languages. The Hindi and Urdu are sister languages, and what was called the Bazari Zaban was Hindustani. And most movies are a mix.
Oh, okay.
A mix.
Oh, okay.
Yes, a mix.
I'm getting it.
So you see Hindi films are actually Hindustani films.
Right.
And on the census certificate till the 60s, it would be written language Hindustani.
Really?
Absolutely.
See what you learn on our podcast.
I was very apologetic because my Urdu was pretty bad. So I used to say, Majru साहब मुझे माफ़ कीजिए मेरी उर्दू बहुत ही ख़राब है. He said, ठीक है लेकिन मैंने अंग्रेज़ी नहीं सीखा इसलिए हमारे वालिद कहते थे कि ये बदमाशों की ज़बान है. So
that's right. Going by YouTube.
The Raj Kapoor was what you felt when you spoke to him, because he was the only one I met, that complete obsession with cinema. Correct. Nothing else mattered to these people. It was cinema. And he would put everything into his films. So therefore he could also get bankrupted too, because everything was not about money and making money in the box office, but about making something different. Shami Kapoor, I interviewed him, and before that I would look at his films, and I noticed something in his songs that every time there would be a cut, you would see Shami Kapoor having jumped out of the frame. So, vroom, he'd be out. Vroom, he'd be out. Right. And so I asked him, how come when you're editing, I see that it's cut when you jump out the frame? He was very happy that it was noticed because he said, I wanted and I made a point to jump out of the frame because that is where they had to cut. I don't know if you saw The Rising, and it's Mangal Pandey, and then there's a song in it, in the chorus is saying Mangal, 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 and it's written Tuesday, Tuesday, Tuesday. No kidding.
Yeah, searching for the camera after 1,300 episodes. Only I can do that. We welcome Nasreen.
Hello.
Let me pronounce that correctly. Munni Kabir.
That's right.
That's 3 first names. We'll get right into that immediately.
Yes. You see, the problem was that I've been doing a lot of work around Indian cinema, and I used to shuttle between London and Paris where I was working, and some people in London would say, do you know someone called Munni? And in Paris someone would say, do you know someone called Nasreen? So I thought this was getting more and more confusing, so I put the names together.
But isn't Munni a pet name? My wife's pet name is Munni.
Absolutely. And in many Muslim families, the youngest is called Munni. Yes, that's right.
And Munna also.
Yeah, so
And Munna also.
That's normal. Although Munna goes beyond Muslims. I got to tell you.
That's true.
I found too many Munnas hanging around my lane. And they're from all over. So, but is there a surname?
Kabir.
Kabir is the surname?
Kabir is the surname.
Oh, excellent. So Kabir Khan, of course, his surname is Khan, so there's no relation there. Because he's also from Hyderabad. I was trying to see if there's a link of any kind.
And it was kind of a juxtaposition, because Munni means obviously small and Khan means great. So it was the small, little, great person.
That's nice. There were in history a few of those. Some started world wars. Some tried to take over Europe.
Yes.
Although I must say, for the record, that Hitler was 5'8".
Oh.
Yeah, I've done some research on that, which is my height.
Right.
No connection, but it's true. So he's not as short as we think. He's just perhaps short compared to some of the people around him.
Yes. I see, and that's why you'd always have him in mid-shot or close-ups.
Yeah.
Yes.
You don't often have him standing alone or rather with someone who's
relative
taller.
Thing, no. Churchill was shorter.
Yeah.
And the shortest is the one with the most blood on his hands. The fellow from Russia, known as Stalin.
Yeah.
So he was really short. If you talk about short man complex and all, he was about 5'4".
And Napoleon too?
No, Napoleon's about 5'6", 5'7". So he's not that bad either. I mean, I don't know.
So if you're tall, you don't have a
No, there's this whole,
politics.
the small dog that barks a lot kind of thingy. And there's this whole, I don't know if it's true. But it's a complex, right? Because you're small, you need to overcompensate. You can see that in some people.
Yes, absolutely, you do. You see it.
We can't see it in him because he's big. So he's very sweet.
I'm not. I'm 6 feet.
6 is for Indian male. That's pretty decent.
Yeah.
Come on. Even actually, all over the world, 6 is a decent. Why are we discussing your height on her show?
I don't know. You brought it up.
How do you manage to
I was
dominate
thinking,
the
how
show?
should I segue into film? Like, did you watch Napoleon, the new movie?
No, but Nasreen is much more than, I mean, it's just not just, film is everything, but in a sense, you're much more than film as well. I want to just find out a little bit about her. I know that you were born in Hyderabad, but at the age of 3, she made this monumental decision, I don't like this place.
Alone.
Okay. No disrespect to KCR, no disrespect to the ruling Congress who've just come into power in Telangana, but you said, I need to leave. and you went off to London.
Yes.
On your own.
Actually, I was with my parents, obviously, and my sisters and so on. But I was put into boarding school quite young.
Where?
In London, in England, it's a small little boarding school which is now closed down, and it was near Hawley in Surrey. And I must say, some people find that going to boarding school is very traumatic. I really loved it because I loved the idea of that discipline, and I think it fed into the eventual feeling I had about work. It made me a bit rigorous about work, and I think it's all about that boarding school. And so I grew up there. Then when I was around 18, 19, I moved to France and Paris.
So you finished your schooling in London?
In England. So
that's up to what we call the 12th standard, right?
Yes. I mean, up to what they would call A-levels.
Yeah.
And then I went to university in France. And I was always keen.
Is it called university? What's it in French?
Université.
Say it.
University.
You say it at home, wherever you are.
Yeah, very good.
You speak good French, is it?
Not bad. Not bad.
So Nasreen I've heard you speak Hindi, it's pretty
Yes,
good.
kind of more Hindustani.
You speak Urdu?
Hindustani, I would say.
Hindustani,
You
how do you
speak,
distinguish Hindustani?
Because
That's the old...
Yes, you see, no, the higher vocabulary would be
amalgamation
more.
of Hindi and Urdu.
Yes,
Yeah.
it would be the higher vocabulary is more Persianized in Urdu,
Okay.
and the higher vocabulary in Hindi would be more Sanskritized. But they are sister languages. The Hindi and Urdu are sister languages,
Right.
and what was called the Bazari Zaban was Hindustani, and
is
most
dumbed
movies
down.
are a mix.
Oh, okay.
A mix.
Oh, okay.
Yes, a mix.
I'm getting it.
So you see Hindi films are actually Hindustani films.
Right.
And on the census certificate till the 60s, it would be written language Hindustani.
Really?
Absolutely.
See what you learn on our podcast? None of us knew this. We learned something new for the first time
Yes.
in a long time, yeah.
Yes, because it was a mix. So some of the characters' vocabulary would be.
But how did
Hindi.
you get into Hindustani? I mean, you're in Hyderabad, then you go to England. Where
But
do you pick up the language?
I would say I owe whatever Hindustani I know
Films?
to Indian film songs.
Oh.
Really, Cyrus, they were something that you took home, those records,
Yeah.
and you would listen to them. And your whole notion of otherness was through those songs. Your whole notion of romance was through those songs. You know, the imagery you had was coming from that,
Right.
listening to those songs. And in England, when you were growing up, I mean, we're talking about 50s and 60s and so on,
Right.
before VHS. I mean, I don't even, you're too young to
One
remember.
second, I'll have to explain to you.
I
देखिए
know.
बेटा, VHS जो है ना, वो video concept का है.
I know, yes.
Yeah.
Video cassettes.
You had videos?
Of course I did.
How do you
I'm
have videos?
35, so I've seen that transition.
Okay.
So the VHS, before that time, there used to be Indian films shown on Sundays on the downtime in the normal cinemas.
In India as well, by the way.
Yes,
Yeah.
but in England, so every Sunday we used to go there and watch these films. So there were films like
And
Raj
would there be a
Kapoor.
lot of crowd for these films?
Big crowd.
Surrey
And they
had
were-
Indians?
Huh?
Surrey is outside London somewhere, yeah.
Only India. All around. There were 100 cinemas in the UK showing Sunday shows.
And packed. There would be
Packed.
desis or whatever.
Desis
Yeah.
selling samosas. People would see the girl and there would be an arranged marriage organized. All
It's
kinds of
essentially
things going.
church for Indians,
Yes,
like sort of.
absolutely.
Yeah.
That is the right
Hey,
way of
Abbas,
saying.
can you imagine you go there, Nasreen's a young
watch
girl.
Raj Kapoor.
And you can hear immediately, bolo, 50 mein milega, because it's selling in black.
Yeah,
We change Europe. You know, Europe didn't know about all this. Yeah, when we go there, all the business is better.
So it was like that, and I think the first Indian film I saw was Mehboob Khan's Aan. Also, you must be too young to have seen it.
Yeah,
I think so.
I think it's French for aunt, but the T is silent.
Aan actually means pride. But
Yeah.
anyway, I remember seeing it, and then,
How old would you have been? Any idea?
God, I would have been like under 10. 8, 9, 10.
But this film stands out because you remember
Two films.
vividly.
Vividly, one or two shots.
Yeah.
And there was an American movie called Love is a Many Splendid Thing. Also very romantic.
What a
and
liar! I've been married 22 years. What an absolute
But it was a great hit.
Yeah.
Anyway, I remember Aan, and I remember this one image I had of Nimmi ji, who was running through fields, mustard fields of yellow, and then after that she's on this horse and she's singing Aaj mere man mein sakhi bansuri bajaye koi. And at the far end you'd have a beautiful black stallion, and on it was sitting Dilip Kumar.
Wow.
So my idea of life was at the end of this field we would find Dilip Kumar.
on a horse, on a big,
On a
beautiful
horse,
Yeah.
on a proper horse.
Yeah.
And so that was kind of, you fell in love, you didn't know with Dilip Kumar or the movies.
Yeah. That's the hold.
But you mentioned the American film as well. So
Yes.
your parents took you for films in general.
For very young. And also one thing I remember, Love is a Many Splendid Thing, and I think that
Who was in that film,
William Holden.
Oh, Starlight 17.
Yes, that's it.
Yeah.
He was
Where's your knowledge of
hero.
cinema?
I have no idea what it is. I'm sorry.
And also there was an amazing revelation to me was that he dies in the film, and it's a war movie, and he's in love with this, I think it's a Chinese girl, and she's writing a letter to him. At that moment, her pot of ink falls off the table and lands there, and it cuts to the bomb going off, and he is killed. And I thought, oh my God, this magic, how could you be in two places? And then later I discovered it was editing. And I think that started this interest in
Now,
cinema.
the racists among us will say, of course, that the Chinese put bombs in ink and all that. But I would say that's lies, and I will not stand for that kind of talk.
That's right.
Yeah.
It was a very romantic
COVID
film.
was enough.
Yes, COVID was enough.
No more.
Yes. But these were romantic images. But when you actually start working in films and on a set, as you know, it's not romantic at all.
No, but it's a very important story you told us, because I think the child in you is so important, right?
Yeah.
That should never go. If that goes, you lose that, because you need that sense of streams of consciousness come later and all that. But you need that sense of when disbelief gets suspended and you just, you're happy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
It's like the world we live in now. We have to stop. We have to pretend sometimes,
Yes,
don't we?
that's it.
Yeah.
And it also means that you are capable of living in an alternate reality.
Yeah. I think, again, it sounds like we're on drugs or something, but this alternate reality is important. I keep telling people when they ask me, hey, how do I de-stress? I think the first thing we have to think about is just find happy places and happy things.
Yes.
Even if it's not fully true. Because what else can you do? Otherwise, the reality is horrible.
Yeah.
The more
you
we think
need
about
the disconnect.
it. Yeah.
You need. And so
And that's what it gave you, that moment when you saw Anne, the moment when you saw...
Love is a Many
Love is a
Splendid
Many
Thing.
Splendid
And
Thing.
you might check it out on YouTube. It has a very famous theme music. It was a very famous theme music.
I'll check it out.
Even now it's well known in Hollywood.
Okay.
But anyway, so that's how it all started. And then finally I went to France when I was around...
So this is now you do what is université?
Yes, université.
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 So anyway, it's interesting that the French have the same T sound as in Urdu and Hindi.
So I can't say French, Urdu and Hindi. No, I have 3 languages I'm depart from. Yeah.
So anyway, I went there, and I was very lucky because my mother knew some people who knew some people, and the usual thing. And I got
Where do you stay now? Because you're a young girl.
now I own so young. Paris, but I'm
just saying young.
I'll come back on
Indian
your show.
background from Surrey, London, whatever. So where do you put up?
You mean right now?
No, in
those days?
That too, Nasreen. I'm married, but what the hell? Good to know.
No, but in those days, I was just staying in a kind of a small place, and I rented studio. But the fact is that my mother knew somebody who knew 2 famous French directors, and they said, we will introduce you if your daughter will get an internship. I mean, obviously you're just a minion, but anyway, I said to her, who? And it turned out to be very famous people, Alain Resnais and Robert Bresson. These are like...
Rennie and Bresson?
But
And they aren't, by the way, bakery products. Because some people
honestly,
in Indian
they
years...
are regarded as the top masters of Indian cinema. I'm not Indian, French cinema. And then finally, Mr. Bresson said, yes, you can work as an intern. So I worked on a film called 4 Nights of a Dreamer. And then from there, slowly, I wanted to do a doctorate on Indian cinema. And I thought the most important and interesting Indian filmmakers were Mehboob Khan, Bimil Roy, Guru Dutt and Raj Kapoor.
So what is this, the 60s?
50s.
The 50s.
So the 50s cinema, for me, was the best. So the most work I've really done, Cyrus, is on Guru Dutt.
So you've not seen Himesh?
No.
Yeah,
Later.
comparing him to
But the
Bimal
names
Roy,
that came,
pretty much
exactly.
the same.
Right.
Yes,
No, I mean,
true,
just
true.
immediately it
Yes.
came to mind, yeah.
But basically, the most work I've done was on Guru Dutt, and from that came documentary series.
Well, how come you didn't want to make films? Because you've gone and worked with, pardon my French, I forget his name.
Bresson. And
Bresson?
Yeah.
You bloody Bresson? and so you didn't want to make films after that
I
experience?
tell you, when you work under a master, you realize that you can never imagine a complete world as perfectly as he does.
Abbas, you understand?
I
Now
do,
you've
yes.
been with me for so long.
Yes. And that you have to be a real master. And therefore, it is better, if you can't recreate a world, it is better to record it. So, documentaries. And
That's a far cry from the typical person who comes on sets now and wants to be the next big thing. Yeah.
No, but it was really a choice, because you see that a master has so much insight and vision, and I don't think I will ever have that. So to record was very good. So I started off doing a lot of documentaries for Channel 4 TV, and in the UK in the 80s they started, and they were really wanting minorities to watch, and it was a multicultural environment, which is now different now. But so they gave me okay.
This is before the EDL.
Absolutely.
English Defence League.
Okay.
They have their own right wing. Oh, we don't have right wing, but they have their. Europe's got a lot of right wing. Someone has to do something about that. Not like us.
So basically, I could do a series called Movie Mahal, and I came to India and with a team, obviously, and we interviewed everybody working in film.
Sorry to interrupt, but so this is now what date line?
This is around the late 80s.
Oh, we've come to the late 80s, all right.
Late 80s.
What was getting access to everyone because you were working for Channel 4?
I'll tell you, getting access was very easy. There were no satellite channels. There were no streaming channels. There were television, Urdu Darshan only showed Chitrahar.
Right.
And there was no real competition. Right. And they were a bit intrigued about Channel 4. They called Channel 4 BBC's Channel 4, but it has no relationship. And but
that's fine, because you have to find our way through and all that.
Yes. So it was always BBC's Channel 4, but Channel 4 is a separate unit.
It's like when people say Coca jaisa Pepsi, no? They don't understand what they're doing, but it's innocent. Yeah.
So that was how it was.
Now that you work with Bresson and these geniuses in the West, did you find any difference when you came and talked to these stalwarts in India?
I think
because there's a lot of hierarchy and awe in Indian
and also the psychophancy that comes with being a director on a set here.
Yes.
Is it the same in France? Because they can also be quite megalomaniac.
I would say not kind of. They wouldn't have chamchas around, but they were very, very clear.
Right.
No
of
chamchas,
what they wanted.
what kind of culture? Without chamchas,
The good one.
how can you push the culture forward?
So, but basically, I felt that if you ask good questions to the filmmakers here, we're talking about the 80s, they really took it seriously. And I thought that I never was... in those days, we have to remember that there was a certain kind of looking down at popular cinema.
Right.
Yeah.
There was a definite, I mean, it was not...
third grade, intellectually challenging, that feeling was there.
And there was... But you know what I mean? When the 90s and the Khans came, the youth started looking up to the popular cinema.
I think... upper class India also started embracing Hindi cinema, which was not there before.
Right.
Upper class India would, even if they watched quietly, not admit it. That kind of thing.
Yes. You see, the upper class watched a lot in the 50s. They knew Raj Kapoor.
That's what I was coming to. So in 50s, you mentioned Bimal Roy and Raj Kapoor.
Yes.
Now, when I see that, I feel like Raj Kapoor was the more mainstream choice and Bimal Roy was the more artsy choice. Would I be correct in assuming that?
And so would Guru Dutt. Mehboob Saab would be the more popular.
Where would Guru Dutt fall then?
He would have, in those, it was no division between popular and in terms of the form. Form, that means the use of songs and the performance and so on. But in terms of the finance, I would say they were low budget films compared to Mehboob Saab, who made Mother India.
Yeah.
And Raj Kapoor, Awara was a very spectacular kind of film. So you had those differences there, but they were not so stark as happened later in the 70s and 80s. Then it was a real division.
Correct.
I was just so impressed with how articulate and how insightful they were all. And Javed Saab particularly was very, very brilliant person to interview. And even Naushad Saab told a whole story. And Shami Kapoor was wonderful.
But did you have to call them Saab and G and all that? How does it work? Because that's the other thing. No? You come from egalitarian...
to be honest, you did say Javed Saab. And you did say Manji.
For some people, it just comes from within, right?
Yeah.
No, I don't mind calling Javed Saab because I genuinely like it.
Yes.
Of course,
but sometimes I have a problem calling people we don't know G and all that, especially as we're aging ourselves. It's like, hey, this is Manish G, and I'm like, why? What's he done? Has he built toilets for the girl child? What's he done? I mean, it's made some bad film, and everybody's touching his feet. It's a little too much sometimes, especially with the males.
Yes. But you see, in those days, I don't remember even addressing anybody. I would just say, do you think we could talk about whatever? I wouldn't necessarily bring up their name. And also, the ones who you talk to, many of them, like Majru Saab, was much older. So it was the age factor more than the hierarchy.
Is that good or bad? It's difficult, right?
You mean it was
How
difficult?
do you approach the older gentleman's kind of thing?
Oh, I was very apologetic because my Urdu was pretty bad. So I used to say, Majru साहब मुझे माफ़ कीजिए मेरी उर्दू बहुत ही ख़राब है. He said, ठीक है लेकिन मैंने अंग्रेज़ी नहीं सीखा इसलिए हमारे वालिद कहते थे कि ये बदमाशों की ज़बान है. So
Perhaps right. Going by YouTube.
Because Majru साहब was in prison many times during
is he?
freedom movement.
Yeah.
Oh, he was a freedom fighter as well?
Yes, yes.
Or by mistake. You know, there's a guy who's in the background. he's
Majru
just-
Sultanpur has written some really revolutionary poetry.
Sorry, not to be insensitive, but I'm just saying, just imagine you're the guy who's moving a chair in the background. You know,
Sure.
fight going on in the back.
Yes.
Next
But
thing you
really,
know-
they were very informed,
Yeah.
very educated, very rooted in their culture.
Are you subtly telling us that in the 50s and 60s, the film making, the making per se, because technology, I understand, but the writing and the sort of the message to the audience was a little bit more intellectual and
Why is
profound?
that even up for debate? I think it's a very...
I just want to clarify.
It is a debate, and I would say
in a way, then we regress,
Yes.
artistically. That's a bit scary.
I would say the biggest difference is that it was more rooted in Indian culture.
Right.
Even the 70s, more rooted, like Salim Javed,
Yeah.
much more rooted in. What's happened
Topical
later was
culture.
more kind of division between art house and like Sham Benegal and Mr. Ray on one side and so on.
Yeah.
And then it became more populist and perhaps influenced more by Hollywood than by Indian culture.
Right.
However, said, that's no longer true. I don't think this.
So where would Animal come from? Let's be very contemporary.
To be very honest, yes.
It's a fair question.
To be
Right.
honest, I haven't seen it, so I'm not too sure about
No,
stylistically.
but
where
would you
it came
say
from.
that his influence is more Western in that kind of thing? Or
I don't think so, because if you find Western films, the horror film can be very gory, but action films can't be. You'll find what's his name? Tom Cruise's Top Gun.
Yeah.
It's not really, it's action.
Yeah.
A film like Predator, which is kind of science fiction come horror, and the Predator itself, there you see gore, but you won't see gore in all action films. So I'm not sure which form this is, Animal, whether it's an action
So
or what is it?
It's definitely more violent than what we generally see in the Hindi film.
Now she's saying
So-
that their version of action doesn't cross a line. And
But
us
that's
may
that.
have,
I
which-
mean, again, I also haven't seen Animal but from what I've gathered, it is about pushing the envelope.
If you want to see,
purposely pushing the
if you
envelope.
want to see animals, come to Walkeshwar. The human beings there, peace. They become peace. Used to be nice people, but now it's just everywhere. Yeah. In fact, I feel bad saying beast because I find animals are so placid and self-contained and nice in many ways. But what you see is what you get with an animal. Animal fools you, right? You see a tiger in his habitat, he's hungry, you're dead. Fair. It's all out there. There's no hypocrisy. There's no beta, how are you doing? Whatever. And then I hate Muslims. I don't know. This is how it is.
Yes.
Well, again.
I don't know. You
ADD.
brought it up again.
I was just trying to ask about parallel cinema. Now, see, looking at us like a pair of animals now. Yeah, trying to study. Yeah.
But I want to get back to that. So, of the four legends you mentioned, did you ever get to meet Guru Dutt?
Unfortunately, only one.
Yeah.
Raj Kapoor.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Raj Saab I had met,
Right.
but the other three had already passed away
yeah.
in the 60s.
I don't know why
Right.
we're saying it softly. I
Yeah.
got scared to say Guru Dutt was dead before she met. But
No, because Guru Dutt
Yes.
famously passed away very
Passed away
early.
early,
Yeah,
exactly.
Young. But I would say that Raj Kapoor was what you felt when you spoke to him, because he was the only one I met, that complete obsession with cinema. Nothing
Yeah,
else
yeah, yeah.
mattered to these people. It was cinema. And he would put everything into his films. So therefore he could also get bankrupted too, because everything was not about money and making money in the box office,
Yeah.
but about making something different.
I was once listening to an interview of his where I think he's talking about Mera Naam Joker, which wasn't a financial success.
Oh, it wasn't.
I don't think so. And he
Not
said
at
कि आपके वो बच्चे जो अपने आप पैरों पे खड़े हो जाते हैं और चल देते हैं, you obviously support them, but वो जो होते हैं जो थोड़ा लड़खड़ा जाते हैं, पीछे रह जाते हैं, आप उनको ज़्यादा प्यार करते हैं. Saying that the films of mine that didn't work or do successfully were successful, I love them more than the ones that went on
By
to be.
by this logic, then the country should love me and never let me
So
go.
it's a pity they don't.
National treasure. I don't
Our
understand.
podcast should be the most loved podcast.
It's the Bharat Ratna. Just if they send it, just accept it. I don't have time now. I just keep it in mind.
Yeah. Yes.
All right.
So
sorry,
basically, there was all these documentaries, and after that, my last documentary was in 2005, and it was called The Inner and Outer World of Shah Rukh Khan.
Temptations tour.
Yes.
Because I was supposed to go on that. That's why I remember.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's
On the
right.
tour?
That one.
I think Murani brothers and all were involved. Yeah,
okay.
it was a very big tour. Those were the days where you made a lot of money.
Of course,
as an
yeah, yeah.
anchor if you get on any of these
Correct.
film tours. And
Yeah.
Shah Rukh was
Yeah,
as big as
yeah,
it gets.
yeah.
Because they go for months. They repeat it. Temptations 2, Temptations 3.5 because he'll come and go, whatever. And you get, I mean, I can't even tell you the kind of money. It's ridiculous. But the problem is that you have to let go of your life for maybe 3 months
Of course, yeah,
at a
yeah.
time. And I couldn't do that because
Yeah.
of this damn MTV job that I had.
But that's
Yeah,
this,
you would have been great.
I know.
Yeah.
Nothing to do. Just
You'd
come on and say,
have-
ladies and gentlemen, pesh karte hain Shah Rukh Khan.
Just out of
Yes.
curiosity.
You're done.
Out
Yeah,
of
you'd have been
curiosity.
in our film.
Yeah. Oh. Nasreen spoke
yeah,
about
I was about to
Guru
ask
Dutt
who
and-
replaced
in
you.
our film,
Do you
yes.
remember who replaced
I
you?
don't know, but there were so many people willing to be
That's true,
anchors.
yeah,
and,
yeah,
I don't remember anyone specifically good.
Yeah.
You know,
They must get local.
No, but they
hosts,
need
I
the
don't
anchor. I'll tell you why when the people aren't ready.
Exactly,
Especially
yeah,
You're in
yeah.
New Jersey because you have to start on time in a Western country.
Yeah.
And then suddenly, the artist is not ready or the ex-artist who's coming on first. So you need the anchor to kill
know.
time.
Yeah.
absolutely
Yeah.
need.
That's a
And
real
you
job.
need to keep it all kind of sewn
You go
together.
to audience and start
Yeah.
chatting and killing time because we are Indians. So we are not following time, the rest are.
Yes.
So always a
And so
clash.
you literally went on tour
So I
following
went,
them.
there was a two-parter. Inner
Right.
World was in India, 3-week shoot,
Okay.
and Outer World was a 5-week shoot during Temptation,
Mm-hmm.
and it was quite a pleasure. The love he has for among the fans, it just went berserk, and people of all ages went berserk. Some Americans, white Americans,
Right.
but a majority were Desis, and they really were crazy about him, and it was lovely. And he was very relaxed. He never had this problem of don't film my left side. It's not a good profile. No vanity in terms of the camera. We were allowed full access, and that was amazing.
Can I ask a controversial question?
Yeah, please.
When you think about all these rock bands going on tour, it's all about this hedonistic lifestyle backstage, sex, drugs, and rock and roll. Is a Bollywood tour somewhere similar, or is it?
But
I
maybe, sorry.
To be very honest, Cyrus, when we finished, we would go in and leave them alone.
Right.
So I have no idea what would happen. But I would say nothing compared to the
Right,
rock scene,
of
because
course.
the rock scene was not just on tour.
Mm.
When they were Janis Joplin and all of them, when they were off
Also, they had a whole
stage,
groupie culture and all.
they
It
had
was
a
all
That's-
open.
that's-
and
yeah.
there was a lot of drugs among their whole culture was drugs at a certain time, and tragic endings.
Of course.
Many tragic endings there.
Yeah.
Yeah, but coming back to Shah Rukh Khan, and I've been to one party, okay, and he just likes to talk.
That's his drug.
Yeah,
Yes.
he's just like a
Yes.
richer version of me.
Yes.
He just goes on talking. So,
Yes.
I didn't see any musty happening ever.
The reason
But he
I
holds
asked-
court. I tell you,
because-
everybody likes him around. He's got that
Yes.
positive
Of
vibe
course,
and
yeah,
energy.
yeah,
yeah. Yes.
I think he's one of those guys, if he wasn't an actor, he'd just be the life of the room.
Yeah.
Once he starts, and he's very positive. Even if he's making jokes or putting you down or whatever, it's in a fun way. He's just not a guy who's rude or mean. I'm sure he can be, but not
But
with
I
us.
never seen him mean, and I found him extremely gracious with fans.
Yeah.
Very gracious. Anybody would come up to him and want a selfie or whatever, he wouldn't make a fuss.
Yeah.
He would just stand there, and that's
What
rare.
is an ex-girlfriend?
Ex-girlfriend?
I mean, it could be
Then for
awkward.
sure he's
Yeah,
going to
like,
give it.
Shah
give
Rukh,
it
Yes,
that's
yes.
me, Rani. And you're like, Rani, Rani.
Not to be confused with Rani Mukherjee. We're not.
Oh,
we're not
no,
making
I-
any insinuations.
How-
Yes, yes. I can assure you, I didn't notice anybody who came up to him like that. However, the truth is, he gets so much love from
He does,
everyone.
yeah.
I don't know if he's got time for any more love.
No, my reading of Shah Rukh, since we're talking about him, is whatever little I've interacted with him and work we've done, is that he would have been the best VJ of all time.
Oh really?
He's just an anchor.
That's
he's
true.
just a very
Yes.
good people person. So, you just keep
Yes.
him anywhere because he's so good with all classes, foreigners, anybody,
Yeah.
put anyone
Yeah.
there and he's just good with them. He just has that way with people. He'll be a very good politician. If he wants to start a political party, I'm saying let's call it the Badshah Party or whatever.
Yes.
And because that was one of the films that he really liked which didn't do well.
Oh,
Plays a
Badshah.
Peter Sellers character.
Bacha, but it became a cult hit later
It's,
on.
again,
Oh,
that's a
really?
funny thing. All these iconic cult
Yes.
hits apparently
Yeah.
just didn't do well.
Yes.
We have no
Yeah.
idea because by the time
Yeah.
we see them, it's like,
Right.
whoa.
They already
Yes.
have a following.
Like Kagas Ke Phool.
Yes.
Guru Dutt.
Flop?
Big flop in
Oh,
its
wow.
time. Terrible flop.
Who's the fool now?
I've never heard that one. That's a very good line. That's a very good line.
I'm so sorry. Yeah. All right, we will take a quick break. Then when we come back, we'll talk lots more. We'll talk about the Javed stories.
Yeah. I also want to talk about this film, this book Jia Jale, which she did with Gulzar.
Yeah.
Which
so
I have read.
And there's Lata Mangeshkar.
Is Lata Mangeshkar? Yes.
Some very big names there. And they've all put their hand up and said, me, feature me, feature me. Let's take a break.
Hey, it's been another great week on the IVM Podcast Network. On Cyrus Says, Cyrus is joined by tennis doubles world number 3, Rohan Bopanna. Rohan shares how he began his journey in the world of tennis, what it was like winning the Grand Slam, playing against Roger Federer, and his team up with Pakistani player Essam ul Haq. Tune in to find out what the future of tennis holds in India. On Paisa Vaisa, Anupam is joined by Ajit Menon, CEO of PGIM Mutual Fund, to discuss the Retirement Readiness Survey. Ajit shares insights into increased retirement readiness, the impact of the pandemic, changing product preferences, and offers valuable advice for those new to retirement planning. Folks, if you like our shows, do spread the word. Tell your friends and don't forget to rate and review them wherever you're listening to them. Follow us on social media via IVM Podcasts on Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. You'll also find all our shows on YouTube at youtube.com/IVM Podcasts. And finally, we would like to thank our sponsors this week: Omedia Network India, Abbott, IDFC First Bank, and Save Life Foundation. Thank you for making this possible.
All right, we're back while Abbas unnecessarily drinks water. I'm a big hater of water, by the way. I think it's highly
Should hydrate
overrated.
yourself.
No, I guess you're privileged enough to have it, firstly.
Okay.
What is this hydrate yourself? You're not a flower.
No, but you're a human being.
Yeah,
so
but
you
I
need
think
to-
you should only drink when you're really thirsty.
I was.
Are you?
Yes.
You're thirsty
Now I'm
for,
not.
You're thirsty for knowledge of cinema.
That's awesome.
Hence we're here.
Yes.
Talk about best anchor in the country. Nasreen, don't look any further. Shahrukh who?
No, I was just thinking since before we went to the break, you were saying that so many great celebrities, and I'm like, none of them might ever come on our show. So Nasreen is our best conduit
Also,
to
it's a
know
world.
about those.
Look, generations are churning out knowledge and all that.
True.
But you're forgetting so many great.
Yeah.
It happens in cricket. It happens in in art of every kind. I think even cinema is just going so fast. We
Yeah.
talk about Animal and the Sam Manekshaw picture and all that because that's this week and then forgotten.
Yeah.
And she's bringing up names from the 50s and 60s,
Yeah.
iconic names, and there's a whole generation who just doesn't know.
That's
Okay.
that's the era of films which is not so much on streaming. Like you really have to struggle
No,
to
it
find
won't be.
films from the 50s and 60s
Yeah.
on these platforms. So yeah.
But we have to see that every decade will influence the
Next one.
filmmakers of 2 decades later.
is it-
So you should see the 50s influenced Salim Javed.
Oh.
Mother India is Diwar. Ganga Jamna is Diwar.
Oh, is it?
Yes. It's the mother with 2 sons
Right.
who are on opposite side of the law.
Yeah.
So you find 20 years. So the films of the 70s started influences people in the 90s. 90s is 2 10s. And you'll find there's a 20-year gap between, because you grow up on those films.
Yeah.
So Animal and Company will be influenced by the early 2000s.
Vastav and all those kind
Yes.
of films.
Gangster
and
films.
many,
Yeah, the
and
gangster
many of
genre.
the South Indian action movies
Yes.
of
Ram Gopal Verma.
Exactly.
You're talking about
Yes.
that generation.
Yes.
See, he'll be remembered as
Yeah.
the pioneer. In many ways,
yeah,
whatever
yeah,
you
true.
say.
Yeah. So basically, you find that influence.
Correct.
However, the past people, no matter how brilliant they are, if they are not championed by each generation, they are forgotten.
That's why I'm saying do the biopic when the guy's dead. You see, you do the biopic when the guy's alive, you're just wasted. Give it 20 years, people are forgetting who it is. Biopic. Sorry.
Yes,
you think
but
that's a
in
fair
a way,
point?
that's true.
It's
That's a fair point. That's a
Too
fair
many
point.
statues are going up in subcontinental areas where the person's alive. I'm like, you can't have the guy walking around with statue.
Yes.
40 years later.
That's true,
then
yeah.
you put him out.
Weirdly.
Yes.
Yeah,
When a
then we
person
say-
is alive, they're like,
Yeah.
itna
Yes.
kitna famous hoga. Abhi to
I'm
zinda
saying not
tho-
even the posters of the minister should go up. Why are there posters up wishing him happy birthday on delightful day of year? Happy birthday to Shri Vinod. I mean, no. Shri Vinod doesn't get a birthday greeting like that from me.
But when you say championing the makers, how does one champion a film?
Either
She's a
you,
chronicler.
yes.
Sorry.
You see, either you write books or you make documentaries about
Which is
them.
the same thing in a way.
Yes, and some people will have retrospectives and art festivals. You will find that the old films like Godard's and Bresson's and
Right,
all have
right,
never gone
yeah,
out of fashion
yeah.
for people who knowledgeable about
Right,
cinema.
right.
And in the same way, people who are study cinema in India or anywhere, but mostly India, let's just say, will know the work of Guru Dutt.
Right.
also, because of the songs, Cyrus, you'll find people will know the film song. So everybody will know Ye Duniya Agar Mil Bhi Jaye To Kya Hai,
Right.
because they've seen that clip.
Yeah.
It doesn't mean they've seen Pyasa. So the songs have been the vehicle of connecting people. I feel really that Indian film music is the glue that makes us stick to Indian cinema. And the reason why there are so many classics is because of those songs. This generation are not strong on songs. So 20 years from now, I wonder what will happen.
Right.
But the songless films have started in the last 5-7
Yeah,
years.
yeah.
And
Also,
then
lip
it's-
syncing is considered corny
Yeah.
now.
Yeah.
Also, not to be, show my age, but some of the music is, oh God.
It is very bland.
I mean,
Yeah.
I really think techno music as a culture should be just, you should be shot on sight. If you're doing that kind
That
of thing.
escalated
really,
quickly.
Let's just, really. Thank God I'm not the Prime Minister. Because I got some strong views on this. Really.
But also another thing, we
Yeah.
see the talent shows,
Yeah.
young people are singing the old songs.
Old songs, correct.
Not the,
Yeah.
And why? Because the lyrics, the tune and the lyrics.
But the everlasting songs.
Yeah.
You can't argue with the fact that they've survived 6 decades. So obviously,
Even more sometimes.
even more, yeah.
Speaking of music, you also wrote a book with A. Rahman,
Yes.
who's famously very reserved and not
Yes.
easy to talk
The
to.
opposite of Javed.
Yeah.
Javed Saab, she used to say, "Sir, enough for today. My hand's paining or whatever. I want to add something." And then with A.R. Rahman, and
Yeah,
like,
how did you get him to open up and talk
It
to
took
you?
a while, but I have to say, and this will not sound modest, but if you can gain their trust, and how do you do that? You will ask them questions about their work. If you start digging about their life, they'll find you to be intrusive.
Right.
And I'm seriously not interested so much in their life stories.
I guess it's just like any relationship where you got to cross that line of
Yes.
familiarity by organically.
Organically.
It may happen with people when they like each other and they allow it. But I've seen his interviews. He's reticent and all that. But when he wants to,
Oh, he's wonderful.
In his soft-spoken way,
Yeah,
in his
yeah,
own
yeah.
personality, and he's comfortable in who he is. He's wonderful. And he's actually narrates nicely and
Yes,
interesting.
I would say now he speaks very, very openly and relaxed.
But in that
those-
soft voice, which is so un-Indian.
Very soft.
Yeah.
Very soft. But he was, it took a while. But when, you ask him question about the work, you will find that artists love to talk about their work.
Right.
And if you notice something, some detail that they hadn't thought anybody noticed, they're
Right.
very excited.
Yeah.
And they will see that you've taken the trouble. You cannot research on camera.
Right.
I cannot now find out about you
Right.
when the cameras are rolling. I have to know you and your work before I meet you. Once you do that, and the biggest thing is, in your interview, if you manage to give them a sentence that surprises them, and
In a good way.
in a very good way, like in BBC, when they test the mic and they're sitting and they test the mic, they'll start with one question. And when I did that here, everyone was like, and the question was, what did you have for breakfast? Everyone would be immediately relaxed because it's a very human situation and they usually just have their
It's
breakfast.
an easier question to begin with
Yes,
also.
and everyone tested their mic like that, but also it gets the person relaxed.
Except in our country, there will be a problem with the cuisine immediately. And you are not allowed to eat eggs in this particular room. I don't know, all that could happen. You have to be careful.
But I have to say, and it may sound like false humility, but people trusted, and I'm very grateful they did.
It's the Englishy accent, I feel. You always feel more comfortable when people have Englishy accents. If she spoke like, "Hey, Rahman, sit down, take me breakfast," and then initially there would have been a different, I think, reaction from him. We
But
should try.
you spoke about the sentence that surprises them. Do you have that bookmark before you go into a conversation? That, let me...
Do you plan
Which
the
one?
sentence?
The
you
sentence?
plan what
No.
to disarm them with a
No, I
comment?
don't, but I really do study their work. I study their work. And something like, for example, let's take Shamiji. Shami Kapoor, I interviewed him. And before that, I would look at his films. And I noticed something in his songs that every time there would be a cut, you would see Shami Kapoor having jumped out of the frame. So, boom, he'd be out. Boom, he'd be out.
Right.
And so I asked him, how come when you're editing, I see that it's cut when you jump out the frame? He was very happy that it was noticed
noticed.
Right.
because he said, I wanted and I made a point to jump out of the frame because that is where they had to cut. And so he obviously was,
He's
that
helping
is,
the editor.
he's helping, he knows the beat. So the beat is the cut. So when he jumps out, they have to cut because
Yeah.
he's not there.
Yeah.
Now, for someone to know that and work that into their performance, I thought, very good, brilliant.
It reminds me of the great Kunal Vijayakar, not a second extra. Let's just do that bit, and that's where we end.
Yes.
Not 1 second extra.
But don't you see? This is
it's
a
a fine
musical
art.
sense.
Yeah.
It's a
It's a fine
musical
art.
sense.
Yeah.
And so that kind of thing would surprise him that I noticed it. And then another answer I got, which I was very happy about, Majru Saab, I said, why is it that Guru Dutt's song seems so integrated in the narrative?
Right.
And he said, because वो opening music नहीं रखते थे, तो सीधा dialogue से गाना. And if you notice, they will say something, he say in Mr. Mrs. 55, तुम कहाँ थे, क्या हो रहा है, ये वो, and then Johnny Walker would be asking Guru Dutt, and he would answer in Aji dil pe hua aisa jadoo.
Right.
So you know what I mean? So it's the answer came in the first line of the song.
Right.
So those things are exciting to know. Exciting.
So you really know your movie actually, or your movie makers or actors.
Yeah,
And
yeah.
everything. These are fine details, which also some people don't register. You can see the picture 3 times without registering it.
But I somehow managed to register it. Somehow. Because I was very interested in, remember that shot in Love is a Many Splendid Thing, the cut?
Yeah.
I want to know
The
where
ink
it's
bottle.
cut. And that tells you everything. Then another thing that's very
Can you
interesting.
imagine right till the end you only want to know what happened to that ink pot?
Yes, you see. And then another thing you've noticed with Mr. Bachchan, his performance is, they're very unblinking. If you look at a shot,
He doesn't blink.
when he hardly blinks. And when he delivers his line, look at that whole scene in Diwar at the end, he doesn't blink. So
Aaj
the
kuch to
attention
bahut
with
ho
the
raha.
audience is
Under
total.
the bridge. Huh.
Total.
Okay.
Because blinking, according to editing, is like a cut.
Yeah.
Oh.
It's a full stop and a cut.
The audience is being held by your gaze in a
Right.
sense, and then
Right.
And many actors do
I blink
this.
all the time.
And then you wonder why you
The
didn't
two
make it
police
big.
cases.
That's it. That's the problem, Cyrus.
Mahila Mandal is outside. ये TV पे आता है, ऐसा करता है. There's another famous one who does something similar.
Oh, really?
Yeah, and sells products. I won't get into names.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, just going back to A.R. Rahman for a second. I was a little upset with him because he was anti-father, I felt, fathers. Because it was Ma Tujhe Salam. But what about us? Being a dad.
I would say that father died very young.
Oh, didn't mean me personally. I thought it was a flippant remark. Don't make me look like a scoundrel now.
And also because
Yeah.
his mother was a very, very big
Strong
influence
figure.
on him.
Oh. So there's a real answer to
Yes,
this
yes,
stupid
yes, there
question.
is.
Oh, man, how embarrassing. This is like reverse Bakra, no? Abbas, I should really not come back after this. Oof, ouch. Where's the Shami Kapoor moment? This is where you cut.
So I've read Jia Jale, the book you did with Gulzar, which is specifically about his lyrics. When you approach your subjects, whether it's Javed Saab, whether it's Gulzar Saab, do you have a plan in mind? I'm going to finish this in 6 sittings, or do you take specific time from them? Do you have something in mind?
You actually you don't determine the sittings.
Okay.
However, you might have a set of questions,
Right.
but those you never stick to your list.
Right.
Because whatever he says, you have to constantly be reacting to it.
Yeah.
Otherwise, it's not a conversation.
Correct.
And it's not layering.
Right.
And so that book, Jia Jale, was a very interesting experience because I'm very keen on, I don't know if you know, but Cyrus, I've done lots of subtitles, more than 700-800 films now. And translation, film translation, song translation was very, intrigues me. So I was very, very happy that he agreed to this book. And Gulzar Saab is... Imagery is difficult. His songs are difficult.
Yes.
And so he often uses an image. And so how do you translate that? And so that Jia Jale was...
So how do you translate that?
You translate it by trying to understand what his image is. Now, I have to say I am very privileged that if I am doing a song by him, I can go to Gulzar Saab and say,
Yes.
look, I've done this
Yeah.
draft.
What do
Is
you
this
think?
correct? And so once you have, like you've done 10 songs like that, you get a sense of the use of vocabulary he's using and how to make it work in English. But I'll tell you one thing which I was very happy about. I mean, you will laugh because it's a very simple little thing and it's not sophisticated translation. But for Tiger 3, I was doing the subtitles and there's a scene in which Salman sees an agent who's wounded and lying on the ground.
Yes.
And he says to him, "Bahut arson ke baad mile hain." And I thought, what to say? And I came up with, "Long time no see." And I thought that was more interesting than translating Sahir Saab. Because it worked for the character. He's an Arnie type of character. And this line, Arnie could have said.
Yeah.
So Salman said it.
Also, when you switch the language, you're trying to... It's not the exact word that you're trying to... That's never going to be the correct way to do it, right? It's what you're conveying.
Yes. It's the intention.
Yeah.
And if you said, oh, we haven't met for a long time, it's not so catchy.
It's true.
But long time no see, you're not misinterpreting the Urdu or the Hindi. You're not saying, I haven't phoned you for a long time.
Yeah. It has to be tongue-in-cheek enough
has to be.
for the moment.
You're going to have a huge market which speaks both languages.
Yes.
Yeah.
So then we get thrown. No,
But
because
this
when they have the subtitles and you're hearing and watching,
This is
you
huge
can get thrown.
on social media.
Yeah.
The
Yes.
screenshots of
Oh, you've
subtitles.
seen it, no?
Yeah.
Oh, they make fun of Indian subtitles.
Yeah.
And I'll give
Apparently
an
you like
example.
that.
Not me. It's called Pagal subtitle.
Pagal
And
subtitles,
it's run
yes.
by an American.
But a Desi American.
Neji and white American in America, she thinks the subtitles in Indian films are hilarious, so she takes screen grabs of the funniest, and she's got a site. It's unbelievably embarrassing and very funny.
This is very funny, Cyrus. There's a man on the phone saying, "Hello, Mr. Lakshman Singh. God is big?" Question mark.
Yes, that's it. I'm glad you checked that out. God is big.
What is the Urdu Hindi translation?
I don't know what the original line must have been. It must have been a greeting of some sort,
Yes.
because it just says, "Hello, Mr. Lakshman Singh. God is big."
Yes.
Whatever, like something.
Yes. I don't know what it could
Ram
be.
Ram or something
Yeah,
of that
something
sort.
like that.
Yeah.
Unbelievable stuff.
But here's interesting. So I was watching Archie's, the Netflix film, and I was watching it in Hindi, and there is a line where someone says to Archie, "अपने आप को किशोर कुमार समझता है क्या?" Right?
In Hindi.
In Hindi, and the subtitle said, "Do you think you're Ray Charles?" And
Oh,
I'm like,
that I didn't do.
Who is the person who
You did
equates?
subtitles.
But I did the English one, not the Hindi version.
Oh, really? Okay, but
I never
someone
did the Hindi version.
someone equated Kishore Kumar with Ray Charles, and I wondered why.
You're
That
talking
is
to
not
another
right.
audience. I'm not saying it's the right
Yeah,
thing to do,
yeah.
but they don't know who he is. And they don't
That's-
know who he is.
that is a
find
big
the
problem.
closest-
But you're trying to find
Yeah,
a reference from a culture for somebody else so they don't waste time and they understand what the context is from
Yeah.
that point of view.
But how do I get around that?
How?
For
Because how
example,
do you explain who Kishore Kumar is in that one
Yeah,
line?
exactly.
I would say the singer Kishore Kumar.
But then would be like the famous singer, Indian singer.
The singer at least you're not making him Ray Charles.
Because
Right.
Kishore Kumar is a very common name and there'll be plenty in India. So good you mentioned singer.
And many times when they have Shah Rukh Khan, they say Tom Cruise.
Right.
So there I'll
Wow.
say the star.
There is a similarity, but
The star Shah Rukh Khan. You can't flatten the culture when you do subtitles. So I did with the subtitles for the English version of Archie's.
Okay.
But the Hindi dub, I don't know who did
Right,
it.
okay.
But it is not correct to put Ray
Right,
Charles.
yeah.
But in any case, it's half English, half Hindi anyway.
It is.
It's sort of like...
I mean, again, this is a very
Yeah.
weird question, but during subtitles, there are sometimes this thing where someone is saying a very emotional dialogue and then they start crying, and then subtitle says crying intensifies.
Yes, yes.
Right?
Cried,
So, is that the...
No, what has happened is that it is by, I mean, you have to have it. It's
Right.
mandatory for hard of hearing.
Correct,
They
yeah,
have
yeah,
to
yeah,
know
yeah.
what's happening.
Yeah.
Because they don't hear the crying or the
So
knocking.
gunfire intensifies is there always. Huh? For example, I was watching Bosch again yesterday, and it comes. I mean, if you're listening, there's no need to write that. But there's no dialogue. There's just gunfire. The gunfire intensifies.
Yes.
Literally, those are the two lines. It's almost like, Abhi, that's stupid. I know what you're saying.
There's a
but
very famous screenshot where it's a telenovela, I guess, and a character is crying and it says crying in Spanish.
Oh, lovely. That's a good one. That's a good one. And laughing in English.
But yeah, we'll
You
put
know?
the link in the description for this because these are really, really funny.
Very funny.
Uh,
And there was one, I don't know if you saw The Rising, and it's Mangal Pandey.
Mangal Pandey, yeah.
And then there's a song in it, in the chorus is saying Mangal, 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 and it's written Tuesday, Tuesday, Tuesday. No kidding.
because Mangalwar.
yeah.
And there was
But
another
technically, Mangal without the var is not the Tuesday.
Yes, yeah.
It should be just Tues. Yeah.
almost. But can you believe?
But what do you do? See, these are tough ones. If I had to,
You ruined the movie.
no, but what would you write?
I would write Mangal, Mangal, Mangal because that's his name. I
Oh, okay, that
wouldn't
way.
translate
Okay, that
his
way. Yeah,
name.
okay,
He's
fair
the hero of the film.
Yeah.
There are some really hilarious typos also. There's a character saying, "No, Uncle Subhash, his innocent, his." So, like, yeah, it's very funny.
They're very funny. But I've done so many classic films, really many, and nobody's really commented. The film that I got the most comments and even got tweets was Rocky or Rani.
Yeah, because they have very funny subtitles.
I got the most praise for
Wow,
that
you're
film.
the one who did those.
Yeah.
I was, while watching, I was like, yeah,
Really, and I
really
mean-
captured the
But it's
spirit
also you
of
like
it.
the subtitles wink wink. It's like that.
That's a good one.
So the character, the
It's
Rocky
almost like a second
character.
film for people who are watching.
Yeah,
it.
exactly,
You're
yes.
distracted, you're watching the action, then you're watching this, and there's a second parallel track in your head.
That's right.
Because
true.
That's
that's
right.
yeah, that was, I didn't know you did that. That was
Yeah,
really
yeah.
funny because
Yeah, that
the,
was-
the Delhi-isms have been
Yes,
captured
yes.
so well.
And you had to, because the whole humor of Ranveer's character,
Yeah.
if you flatten that, there's no humor.
So
it's
if
not funny.
it's an idiom like nor do gyara, what do you say?
You
It's not
can't.
nor do,
they-
no do gyara and dor do gyara
Or
are
do
two different.
panch, whatever. What do you say?
No,
with those kinds of
you just
in
have to
English
say
you won't translate.
That's
That
true.
makes sense.
You'd only have to say they vanished or they disappeared, because that's what it means.
Oh.
Don't.
Okay, so you don't even get into literal translation. at
No,
all.
you can find equivalent idioms, and you can introduce idioms. If they say this man isn't talking at all, you can say, "Did the cat get your tongue?"
Right.
Nice.
You can do things like that,
And then-
but you can't go away from the meaning.
Right.
This stuff is making it ridiculous, making the audience laugh at the film.
Yeah.
I
They're killing the moment sometimes
They're
because the
killing
whole
the
moment
moment.
goes, it's a serious film and you
Yes.
found something ridiculous.
Really,
And then you can't
but
get back.
if you see Mangal and you see Tuesday, you're going to laugh.
He's about to be hanged.
Yes,
You
he's
know, it's
about to be
Mangal. Come on. That's so mean. 3-4 months making a movie, then,
3 years.
3 years, my God.
Do you think, okay, a couple of last questions, then we go to the audience questions. Now with the advent of AI and these new tools, do you think that we'll get to a stage where subtitles will be auto-generated?
Do you know people used to say that about Google Translate? But each film is different, the context is different. Some people may use it to save money because it's all about money and how expensive things
Yeah,
are.
but I also don't want the wrong meaning to go out,
Yeah.
which you have to trust the person doing that.
But that's the
You
whole...
have to-
Audience is no longer linguistic audience. Audience is
Right.
global audience. You don't want to take a chance.
Global and many bilingual.
Yeah, all
People
that.
are you didn't need to read the subtitles for
Yeah,
Rocky,
but
but
How
you
can
were
you not
reading.
if you know the language and the subtitle
But
comes on.
Netflix you can switch them off.
No, that's true, but I'm saying once it comes on, I'm saying you just
You
will
have
read
to.
it.
have to
You
read
have
it,
to.
yeah.
Therefore, they're more important.
And then you're that lizard brain
comparing.
thing. You're like, let's see what the subtitle person has, how
Like-
accurately they have
Yeah,
translated
and
it.
obviously you can translate it better.
About the serious moments, Nasreen, you're talking about like they're building up something which filmmakers doing.
Yeah.
They're in the lift, and then there's sounds, and you're getting scared watching it, and then the thing is saying, scary sounds emitting from lift, and then you're like, that sounds so silly.
Really, but actually, what should make a whole little short film with these captions?
Yeah.
It'd
Yeah,
be
yeah,
lovely.
yeah.
It would be very
Yeah.
good.
Hey, can I just ask about Lata
Yeah,
Mangeshkar because
sure.
I know we're running out of time
Yeah,
quickly. So what was that experience like?
Oh, I must say it was one of the most wonderful experiences. She's so intelligent, Cyrus, unbelievable. Her understanding of songs, music, people, she would be able to read people instantly, and she was very gracious, and I never felt someone with a big ego.
Yeah.
She may have been sure of herself, and that you have to be, if you're anybody, confident, but there was never, I did this, I did that, I sang this, I sang that. None of that. And that is the best thing, because people are just really full of themselves, and that's not very entertaining after a while. And she was very, very nice.
That's a tough one. How do you know that when they're very famous people, the top of the line like a Lata, how do you know they're just not sharp enough to dumb down that experience and make you feel better?
You have to surprise them.
Yeah.
You have to surprise them and give them some feeling that you know their work in the right way. And you're curious about their artistry in the right
Everybody's
way.
phoning all the time and you're that big, etc.
But
How do they tell that you're
But you
genuine?
can tell one thing about me. I'm not a phoning type.
That's true. You didn't with me, and I'm a great human being. I mean, Lata, Guru Dutt, Bimal Roy. What's the French guy's name? Bresson. He sounds like a guy you call
but
for.
really,
Oh.
if you go there as a fan, they'll treat you like a fan.
Right.
And if you go there and wanting to know, I want to know how you approach comedy. Why do you think you'll get a laugh with this sentence?
Right.
You're going
then
to
you'll go into therapy. Don't ask those questions. It's a very difficult line that we're in. Yeah.
But you know what I mean?
Correct.
You really then will stop. And you will not think about the difference of experience and status.
Right.
Talking about subtitling, one of the most difficult words to translate is aukat.
Status?
Because
Position.
that whole thing doesn't work in
Yeah.
English.
then what would you say?
Oh, you have very complicated. Every
Do you
time.
have the guts to
Yeah.
from your position?
Remember your standing.
Yeah, exactly. You have to
But
do a whole phrase.
It's terribly difficult. Jugaad and Auqat.
Jugaad is cunning, shrewdness. It would be somewhere there, no?
But it's such a quintessentially Indian word.
Yeah.
very
Because it's more than that. It's
Yeah.
more like it's
More.
internal
More
cunning.
than that, yeah.
It's beyond
very
Western
difficult.
cunning.
Yeah.
You don't know credit card fraud. We taught you. Jugaad.
That's right. Jugaad is very difficult.
Good. Give us more. This is fun.
Actually, Jugaad is very. Auqat. Some of the songs are impossible.
Yeah.
Impossible because of the imagery. I can't think of anything that is very difficult. But
These everyday words.
I
like
always
Auqat
think
and
of this one line from a Gulzar song from the film Kamine. हमने गिलहरी के झूठे मटर खाए हैं. You know, like that's. I mean,
would you translate it? Give me a rough
A literal
translation.
translation would be: we have eaten the peas of a squirrel overnight.
Yeah.
But then that conveys
And
nothing.
what's the next line?
I can't remember right now.
Because Gulzar Sahab said always read the following line.
The couplet.
And then you'll get it.
Yeah.
Actually, this is the second line. I think I can't.
But I
remember
would love if you have kept the squirrel peas reference as is, because the person watching from another culture will be like, man, this is fascinating. Where did that come from? That's really from left field. You know, he's talking about love for the girl, and then suddenly he's talking about a squirrel. Yeah.
Another word, a difficult word is majboor. मैं मजबूर थी.
It's helpless.
It's not.
No. So what is
Because
desperate?
I would write, my hands are tied.
Majburi is desperation. Now,
No.
Again, depends on the context.
It depends.
But it's almost like a negative thing.
But
always,
it is
no?
not
Majburi is
bebas.
never-
So you came for the to record the podcast today. Why did you do it? मैं
That's
मजबूर
not.
था. Because that's a
No.
what do you call? There's a
bebas is helpless. मैं bebas थी is
Correct.
helpless.
So what are the words you've used for majburi and
I
majbur?
say my hands were tied.
So we have to use a phrase. Full.
मैं मजबूर थी, you'll use an equivalent phrase. मैं
That's what our politicians say every time. Price of
But we
petrol
are-
going up.
we are the ones whose hands are always tied.
But you know,
yes.
those kind of things are difficult
But-
because
Yeah.
culturally they don't always find an equivalence.
But you know the best thing about Lata, which you all didn't mention? Beatles fan.
Really?
Yes.
I got to. I was so. Asha Bose interview. I've told this before. Rahul Khanna disappears, and I don't know my Hindi films, that well, as you know.
Yeah.
And suddenly they call me up and say he's not well. You have to do Asha's interview, and please be careful. Speak only Hindi. Show a lot of respect. She was so much fun, Abbas.
Yeah.
They don't know anything. These PR people.
Yeah,
they say
they
all the
don't.
wrong things. We started. I was humming a song in the background. She picked it up and she said Beatles. And moment we realized we are Beatles fans, both of us. We just
Of
bonded.
course,
yes.
Language went out of the issue.
It's like your
completely.
breakfast question.
Yes.
No,
Yes.
she's but mine was
Yeah.
by luck. Yeah. But also, you're a genuine fan, so that comes out also.
Correct,
Because
yeah,
I do that when I meet
Yes.
the cricketers like a Muni
Yeah,
and all
of
that. You can
course.
see I'm a genuine
You
fan.
did, but also you're respectful of their art.
No,
Not
but you
a
genuinely
fan
like
is
them.
loving them, adoring them,
Okay, wrong
and you are
word.
often
Wrong word. You're a connoisseur.
A fan is often projecting their own needs onto that person.
yeah.
But if you really want to know how they work, that they like. And Lataji was very generous about people with talent. And spoke really fondly about Nargis ji, Madhubala, Waheeda ji. She had a real fondness and they loved her. And Madhubala and Meena Kumari apparently wrote in their contracts that Lata
Only she
Mangeshkar has to do the playback. Otherwise, we're not accepting the
What
role.
was too much when they said she'll do the male playback? I was like, I'll put my foot
It
down.
would
as a
still be a
producer.
hit.
Yes.
Some producer, exactly, he'll save money.
Yes.
One singer.
Okay.
And then one thing, I think Meena Kumari said about Lataji, she said, if Lata is singing, we don't need to act.
Wow.
Now that's fantastic because the playback singing was performance.
Correct.
It's fragmented performance
And
because you
Nasreen,
don't see her.
What people forget, now they can do a track in
Yeah.
no time with one word. They would do the whole song again because one violin went off.
Yes.
I remember in Bombay Labs, we used to shoot Loveline at MTV, and they used to tell us, there's the guys who were left over there, that they would do the entire song. And she's at the top of her game. She's
Yeah,
not made a
yeah,
mistake.
yeah.
But something is wrong, composer doesn't like it, and they have to do the whole take. There's no
Yeah.
question of mix and
Yeah.
match.
No, and no one would complain.
No one
Yeah,
would complain.
yeah. Okay, we have to go to the AMAs. So Nasreen, the first question comes from Bruce Wayne, not the Bruce Wayne. This is a screen name, Bruce Wayne. 2023 is drawing to a close. What is your vote for the best film, music director, and lyricist of the
How
year?
do you remember
in
anymore?
Indian cinema?
The old days, it would be 4 or 5 films. Now there's so
This
many.
year.
OTT.
This year, yes.
How do
Film, music director, and
I think
lyricist.
lyricist. I think I don't This is a very tough question.
Jawan, Pathan.
Oh, I see, yes.
Gadar 2, Animal. I mean, these are blockbusters.
Oh, yeah,
Yeah,
well,
yeah.
give me some other
Sam
names.
Bahadur.
What about the early this year?
This year, Pathan was the first.
No, those are the
was
big
the
hits.
big
Those are
one.
big.
Big
No, listen, there have been lots of films.
Rocky Aur Rani was
I
big.
liked
Rocky Rani.
12th Fail.
12th Fail was very
I thought
good.
it was
just
a
coming to
lovely
that.
film. I would say that was a very unusual film.
Yeah.
Music director, I think Rahman in Ponniyin Selvan,
Okay.
for sure.
Yeah.
Lyricist, I think, to be very honest, no song really stood out for me.
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't say they did.
I think you need to give her a full list also because there's things
Yeah,
which is not in your
it's very
mind.
wide. Ponniyin Selvan was, I
Yeah,
think, exceptional film.
yeah.
And as a director, I would say Mani Ratnam.
Rishi, what's the most popular song of this year? Hindi song?
He's a
Rishi
Man
also
City, Man City fan. What are you wasting time for?
Huh? Which one?
Sorry, in the middle of the podcast, we're having a conversation. This happens in India, third world podcast. We will get back to you with a better one.
I know. I'll tell you what. The from Brahmastra, this song had a controversy because he used love storya in the middle,
I see.
and everybody was like, the
How
rhyme
can you
is
make-
not. How can you use love?
Yeah, storya.
How can you question this?
Because the rest of the line
poetic
is in
license?
Hindi,
Yeah.
and
But
then
there's
it's.
a
I
poetic
think it's
license now.
Kesaria, the
After
song.
the Bhelpurification of Indian cinema, really now? This is the problem.
I should actually mention the name of the. I think it was Bhattacharya.
Oh, okay.
Abhishek Amitabh
This is the same
Bhattacharya.
industry which gave you oh bloody,
Blada.
what to do. No, that's the
Anyway,
Beatles. That's different. This
Yes.
The next question is from Harvesh. How do you decide which content or subject to take out and which one to keep when you're writing a book for someone?
Okay. The choice, how do you choose a subject? Basically,
No, I think he means
How do you
when
remove
out of all
the
the
excess?
conversations, what do you
Oh,
choose to
edit.
keep and what
in the
how do you edit?
actually,
Yeah.
I think anything that's repetitive, get it out.
Okay.
If they're saying the same thing about the same song, it's not interesting.
Mm-hmm.
You must make the narrative of the book constantly moving forward. You can go back in time and refer to
Okay.
past experiences, but the narrative should not be repetitive.
Okay.
When you're talking to Javed Saab, for example, would he organically go into all kinds of things? Because I can imagine, like you said, you can prepare questions, but they won't follow a path. Sort of like a game of chess. He'll have his own thought process and it'll go somewhere else.
To be
You won't
hon-
interrupt him, right? You would let that go
Yes,
on its own.
but it would often be triggered by the question. However, because when people live a very busy life. If I said to you, what were you doing yesterday at 2 o'clock?
Well, it's kind of personal. I don't think we have that relationship, but maybe one day. Yeah.
But it's very difficult to remember. So therefore, the question allows them to access the memory.
True.
Because if
Trigger
they were
point.
just talking, you wouldn't know how to structure
But
your
it's amazing
answer.
how memory is. I don't know, because I'm aging. If somebody says something and it's almost like a sense memory that goes with it, and then you remember things.
Yeah.
Otherwise, you don't remember them. But when you do, it just opens up.
Yeah.
Honestly, you will not know
Yeah.
last Sunday what you were doing.
Exactly.
You'd have to think about it.
No, me and the government both. Not our government.
The next one comes from Nikhil. He asks, if you had to pick, which book of yours would you think is your favorite?
Is a hit.
Is your favorite? Your own one of which one of your own?
Oh, that's a
books?
very tough question.
Well, is it similar to that the kid who's slightly injured?
Yes,
or
yes,
not
yes,
doing
yes.
it properly? Yeah.
But I would say Guru Dutt because I like his films the best.
Okay.
And that's really a personal choice. But I think what they all hopefully have is a sense of the person's work
Right.
for future generations, so that hopefully in few centuries from now the form will take place. It'll be digital or it'll be
Something new.
something new will show up.
Yeah.
But that information about how Lata ji approached a song, or how Gulzar Saab thought of an imagery, or Javed Saab thought of a memory, or writing the Gabbar Singh dialogue, these things will remain.
Right. Okay. I had a follow-up question. So you are doing subtitling for the current crop of films that's coming up, and you're someone who's learned the masters. Do you at any point while subtitling them judge the film
I think
of today?
you won't have a job if you did that. I think, and also they never ask me, what do you think, or something like that. And it's not right. I'm a member
Right.
of the team. I'm supposed to deliver
Of course.
what I can manage.
Sure.
However, there's some films, obviously without naming titles, that I like more than others.
Right.
And the challenge is the language. And the more difficult the dialogue, the more interesting it becomes. And more subtlety. You need subtlety.
Okay.
But I must say one thing. I really enjoy the experience of subtitling Ponniyin Selvan.
Okay.
I do not speak Tamil.
So how do you do that then?
So I worked with 2 translators.
But then how they are translated into English and then you into Hindi?
And Ponniyin Selvan is like
into
ancient
English.
Tamil.
They would go from Tamil into English, but the English was a little ropey.
Okay.
Right.
So I would make it into elegant English and
Right.
subtitle it, and Mani sir would sit with me and look at everything, and we finished part 1 in 7 hours.
But Mani speaks perfect English, so why can't he override the Tamish?
He
You
has
see,
other
the truth
stuff
is
to
he's
do.
got a lot to do, and he's not a
He
subtitler.
wants to save money.
No, he does. He's not a subtitler, and he
So
always.
it's a very specific art, is what you're saying. Not everyone can just do it because you know the
I can
language.
tell you one thing:
Yeah.
the Hollywood movies in Europe are done by a handful of people.
Yeah.
The Americans know how important it is. Now I say Indian filmmakers are much more aware of subtitling and are very careful about it.
The real challenge is when you take Arabic and Hebrew films and try to change the subtitles there. Ooh. Quiet.
But there are more than enough examples of that. But anyway, last question comes from Soumya. Soumya asks, can you tell us your favorite scene from an Indian movie?
Oh,
How tough is that? Yeah.
unfortunately, I'll go back to Guru Dutt.
Okay.
And I think at the end of Pyasa, when he comes to Waheeda ji, to the character Gulab, and she's lying on the bed and she's not well, and she suddenly gets up and she says, Juhi, kisi ne mujhe pukara. And he doesn't call her out,
Right.
but she knows that he's there, and she comes running down the stairs, running, and embraces him. I thought that was stunning. Without many words, the whole emotion came across.
How do you subtitle that?
You don't,
You don't.
which is also very good.
Yeah.
There's no words. You know,
Right.
only Juhi did someone call out to me, and that's it. And then the whole scene takes place, and the emotion filled scene. And then he says, मैं दूर जा रहा हूँ, मैं कहीं जा रहा हूँ, or something. So then she says, बस यही कहने आए थे. Then he says, मेरे साथ चलोगी. That was the end of Pyasa.
Yeah.
And they go together?
They go
They do
together.
together.
I like
Yes.
happy endings.
Happy
Yeah,
ending.
Pyasa surprisingly has a happy ending. There's this
Only
notion
Guru
that
Dutt, you know, I'm start getting worried because I can't. I should look at the end of the book always, you know, to see everybody's alive and all that. You know.
Yeah.
But just before we say bye, one last question, which is you also done a book on Waheeda.
Yes,
And
lovely Waheeda.
So in my mind, growing up, the 3 most beautiful women, Waheeda Rahman, and still looks beautiful, Rekha and Zinat Aman.
Yes.
What about you in Hindi films?
In Hindi films, I would say Waheeda ji. I like Nargis very much. Fantastic personality in her face, and Meena Kumari. And Madhubala is stunning.
Yeah.
So it's difficult to choose.
You've given the new generation nothing.
I'm sorry. I'm an
That's
old
fair.
timer.
That's a spontaneous answer. It's fair.
I'm an old timer also.
No, that's fair. Sometimes maybe the oldies were the goodies. We can't
Yeah.
deny that. Abbas, what were you most beautiful of all time?
In Hindi cinema?
Yeah. Going back.
Well, my family was also very enamored with Madhubala, so I grew up with Madhubala. Father is a big fan of Rekha. I would add in Priyanka Chopra in there from my
Yes.
generation.
Top of the line.
Yes.
Wow.
Yeah, I think she's gorgeous.
She is gorgeous, but
Yes.
we're looking at top 3 ever. It's not just about beauty.
Ever, I mean, again,
It's
we're
all
all
that-
nostalgic
it's
for
a-
our eras, right? So I also grew up with Priyanka.
Yeah, that's true.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, in my time, this was that era when beauty queens were becoming actresses,
Parveen
right? So
Babi just
Sushmita,
missed my
Aishwarya,
cut.
Priyanka Chopra.
Parveen Babi was right there. Just missed my cut because I had the forced to give 3.
Yeah.
I feel really bad. Yeah.
So which 3?
For me,
Yeah.
Waheeda, and she looks so beautiful now. You mean, touch wood, really. I wish we could get her on the show. Waheeda ji, can you come on the show? It'd be nice. Yeah. It was so nice to see someone. There are a few people who, as they age, actually continue to be radiant. It's
Now
like
I'm
God's
thinking,
gift.
well, I could have added Smita Patil also in there.
Oh, very pretty. Yeah.
Yeah.
No, let's stop this. We're going to start fighting.
Shabana Azmi.
Very nice. Yeah. Oh my God, young Shabana, very pretty. My God. Not that she's not pretty now. Very pretty now. Shabana, please come. Yeah.
And what about the actors? Who did you like?
Oh, I'll swing that way.
And you're an Amitabh fan.
Amitabh
obviously.
out and out. Amitabh out and out for me. Number 1 by a long margin. I mean, like exactly that gaze into camera. And, again, coming from the 80s and 90s, different generation, I guess, and all that. But I think the hold he had on cinema when we were growing up, it was such a one-man show. Everybody would hear this. Kiska picture? Amitabh ka picture. Immediately that would be the
of
next
course.
question.
Yeah.
Because it was like this Amitabh cinema, whatever the hell film it was. Even the flops were super hits. And then there was everybody else.
Yeah.
Dharmender, the man's man. What a guy, yeah. Just to look at, fantastic. And I'm a huge fan of Feroz Khan.
I know, yeah.
I just like, I feel that, I could have been Feroz Khan. I feel like, we have some DNA and He's just got that. He's got that style and
That's
that,
true,
that,
yeah.
swag, like a West
Vibe,
Indian,
yeah,
you
rock star
know,
vibe.
Watch the West Indian cricketers, the ones that
Yeah,
aren't good, they
swagger.
just have that swag,
Yes.
you can't do anything about it. And you put him in any role,
true.
he's a waiter.
Yeah.
He's still the guy you look at. It's
Yeah.
fantastic.
And what about you, Abbas?
So my mother is the biggest fan of Dilip Kumar. The one time I could see that my mother was also a young girl once was when she would talk about Dilip Kumar, because her eyes would
Lovely.
twinkle.
Beautifully
And,
put.
Yeah, eyes would twinkle. Then from my era is Shah Rukh, Amir. I was never really a big Salman fan, but my sister would swoon over Shah Rukh Khan all the time. So I grew up with Shah Rukh, and I think his stature has only grown through the years. Today's generation looks up at him in awe because of his interviews. And
He's the one guy who off camera, on camera is a star
exactly,
for sure.
sir. Yeah.
Just put him on.
Him and
you
you,
never catch him
Cyrus.
off.
Both you and Shah Rukh.
I'm the same on camera, off camera. I'm not a star, sadly.
True,
yeah,
yeah.
but that's true.
Yeah. So Shah Rukh, Amir and Dilip Kumar are like the three big ones for me.
And we apologize to all the stars we haven't mentioned. Sorry about
Yeah.
that. I mean, I'm a big fan of Rajpal Yadav, for example. There's
But,
so many
but keep
character
talking about
actors.
swagger. I think Devanand also.
Oh,
is
Devanand
like
has a lot
Gregory
of
Peck.
style.
You mean Gregory
Yeah.
Peck?
Yes, really best. And Raj Kapoor in his films,
Yeah,
Avara,
yeah.
She
Oh,
Charso,
God,
is
there's
wonderful.
no end to it.
Yeah, there's no
Wonderful.
end to it.
And I like Ranveer Singh very much.
I like Ranveer
think-
Kapoor very much. I really like him. I think he's a fantastic actor. If you see his body of
Yes,
work, one day when you
yes.
look back at it, that's a pretty good, interesting
true.
bibliography
Yeah.
that's
Yes.
come out. Yeah. So Ranveer Singh, Ranveer Kapoor, who's your of this generation? Give us one.
Of
Last.
this generation.
Now you're struggling, no?
Vikrant Masi, who was in 12th Fail. I really like him.
Very
Really a
He's
big
good.
star.
Yeah,
Will he
yeah,
be-
yeah.
I know everybody's appreciated. Let's
Yeah.
see. Let's see. Wait. Let's get him on the show. That'll
Get
launch his
him on the
career.
show, Rishi.
But Waheeda first. Vikrant second.
Yeah.
And then some aging actors quickly.
Okay, we have to wrap up now.
Gotta have them. Something to look at later. All right, Nasreen, it's been fascinating. But as we say bye, what are you doing next? Because
Actually, I'm not too sure.
Oh.
I'm subtitling the Sri Ram Raghavan's film Merry Christmas.
okay.
And
Is it M-E-R-I, Mary, as in mine,
No,
or is it
no,
Mary?
Mary.
The subtitle starts from there.
No, Merry.
So what do you say for Mary in Hindi?
It was Merry. Merry Christmas was the English title.
But how do I translate?
Christmas ki
You don't. You
shubhkamnaएं.
don't. But you wouldn't
Shubhkamnaएं
translate.
is very officious.
Yes, you won't translate Merry Christmas.
So-
The title.
So you don't you just say it the way it is.
Yeah,
that's
yeah.
the title of the
because it's
film.
in English. Lot like animal. You won't translate animal really,
Janwar.
but you wouldn't.
That's a
wouldn't
different
because
film.
the word is known.
Yeah, the
but
word
you
is
could.
known. Merry
Yeah.
Christmas is known. So I do that, and then I have to figure out the subject of my next book. But I'm not sure.
Okay. So which generation we can help you? Are you going for a more modern generation person?
I don't think I'm good for that. I don't know the films enough. I haven't been watching like that. It's a difficult one.
He wants someone to chronicle his life.
My life?
Yeah.
He's young.
No, I'm very young.
but he'll age.
Only one role old. So maybe
That's the beginning, Joe. Step by step. Shah Rukh Khan started somewhere. He started with what, Circus?
True.
and
Circus and Fauji.
Fauji. And one small role in this.
He was in an
One from
Arundhati Roy film.
Oh
two
yeah,
scenes.
and he gets
Yes.
those ones or something
Yeah,
like that.
yeah, yeah.
Oh, he was in that
Yes,
as
he
well?
was
Two scenes,
that.
yeah.
And Idiot
Very,
by
very
Money
young.
Call.
Idiot by Money Call.
Who's the idiot now?
Ahmak.
Money call?
So again, see, that's an interesting. The idiot, the official title was Ahmak, which is
Yes,
purely
yes.
Urdu, which means idiot.
Yes.
But it wasn't.
Does it mean idiot?
It wasn't Bewakoof.
Does it mean fool? Oh, Bewakoof is fool.
Ahmak is idiot.
Ahmak is,
like
yes.
very,
In-
very
in-
specific.
in
good Urdu.
No, because I don't
Very
know why,
good.
how, but
Very
I know
good
this
Urdu.
because Urdu is like parents call their children.
So what happens when
Yeah, very good Urdu. So your parents are where they living? In Lucknow?
My mother's from
the
Lucknow, dad's
antecedents are
from.
from UP?
Yeah.
But now they don't even... The Hindi of Mumbai is taken over, so we don't know what they say.
My mother used to say "kharab ko kharab keh kharab mat karo." So
yeah, nice.
I think we should wrap up.
Yeah,
We've gone on for
I
too
think
long.
we should, yeah.
Again, we're going into my therapy session now.
Yes, looks like it. Looks like it. Yeah. But just thinking, if
Yeah.
Nasreen gets into a fight as we end
Yeah.
with someone, say in Gurgaon,
Yeah.
and they start using these words,
Yeah.
do you stop the fight to say, "Excuse me, are you conveying idiot or fool?" Because
Yes, I tell you,
that's
the
in your
other day
head.
I was in an auto and I said, I think I've lost my mini ainak. He said, ainak kya hai? Then I had to say chashma.
Wow. Ainak is chashma.
No, if you get into a fight, you say तुम्हारे कूलों को लाल कर देंगे, and then you leave it there.
And then they Google Translate.
Yes, and by the time you leave.
Okay. Wow, this world is just too much for us, man. I miss the 80s. Yeah, really. Okay, Nasreen, thank you so much
Thank
for being
you,
on the
Cyrus.
show.
Thank
And I'm sorry
you.
if we pulled your leg too much and said stupid things, but that's the nature of the beast here.
That's true.
on
Thank
the
you.
podcast.
Thank you.